Hello, welcome back. So, this is not the video I thought I was going to be making. Let me explain. I talked about in my TBR for this month that I had a couple books planned for a play on the books with the same title, that being The House Guest and the Housekeeper and the Professor. Because it's not quite that they have the same title, but they both involve like house people within the title, even though they are technically kind of opposite things. Because a house guest is just someone who's living in a house versus a housekeeper is someone who's taking care of it. But that was my whole like conceit for it. But this reading experience became something quite different than what I was expecting. First off, let's just talk about The House Guest real quick. This one is a short story collection, and it was really good just for that. I enjoyed all the short stories in it. There are some kind of like horror elements within the stories. The specific story of The House Guest in particular had an ending that I did not see coming, and it just kind of threw me for a loop that way. So it was a good read. I enjoyed it. As a translated work, I thought it was really interesting to get kind of some of the different culture that's within it, and all that kind of thing. I don't know if I've read other short story collections that have been so outside the US and translated and all that, so for that I really enjoyed it. But the thing that I really want to talk about actually is The Housekeeper and the Professor, which may actually be the surprise hit of the year for me. I know it's only April to be saying that, and I know I already professed Love Hypothesis is my favorite book of the year. Again, I'm just making these things early, I guess. But I would say that The Housekeeper and the Professor is definitely the most beautiful book that I've read so far this year. I had read kind of the background on this book, the general plot being that this housekeeper starts working for this professor who has an 80-minute memory, and that's about all that I remembered of the description of it, and all of that just from having read like the blurb when I was like deciding if I wanted to read it or not. But what this book really is for me, and like within the writing of it itself and stuff too, but it's like a meditation on found families and math. And the found family stuff was very beautiful. I really loved that. But the true unexpected part was the math stuff. If you had told like elementary school aged me or high school aged me that I was going to be crying over a book that featured a math professor talking about math through the majority of the book, I would not have believed you. I was one of those kids who didn't really have a great time with math and struggled with it a lot. I think partly just from the way it was taught, in that it didn't always give me enough examples to feel like I understood the concepts. But then also, to some degree, people kind of tell you that you're bad at math. It seems like just culturally, or that math is difficult, and you know, you get kind of that mindset just from people talking about it a lot too. And so I was one of those kids and didn't really have a great relationship with math. But the professor in this book, being a mathematics professor, now that he's got his 80-minute memory, which came from like a car accident, so up to 1975, I believe is the year, he has his past memories, but then after that, it's only an 80-minute memory span, and kind of how he copes with the world is through the math, which is his one solid thing that he has that has been consistent even with his memory problems. He works on solving like math proofs to send into this journal that gives prizes for solving them and stuff, and it was just really beautiful to see math talked about in this way. It was so cool to have that experience along with like the characters that the professor is teaching about math, and talks about math being like poetry and how it's existed even before we were technically like counting numbers and things, one of the quotes within the book specifically that the professor says to the housekeeper is, "Math has proven the existence of God because it is absolute and without contradiction. But the devil must exist as well because we cannot prove it." And like, just all these different mindset changes in math and how to look at it, and it was just beautiful. It definitely brought me to tears in multiple aspects because of like the found family and just the strength of the relationship that the housekeeper builds up with the professor. The housekeeper also has a son, and the relationship that he builds with the professor and all that, but then the math that goes into it as well. It was just beautiful. I highly recommend this. If you take anything away, read this. That's all I got for now. This is the Uma Harper signing out.